What do you give the brother who helped you achieve your dreams when you're one of the richest men in the world? For Elon Musk, the answer wasn't just another expensive gift. It was the fulfillment of a promise made decades ago under an African sky. A promise that suddenly couldn't wait another day. As Elon prepared to reveal his multi-million-dollar surprise, he had no idea that this gift would unearth memories and emotions neither brother had confronted in years. Elon Musk stared out the floor-to-ceiling windows of his office at SpaceX headquarters in Hawthorne, California. The bright May sunshine bathed the massive rocket parts below in golden light. Workers in blue jumpsuits moved around the factory floor like busy ants, building the machines that would someday take humans to Mars. But Elon wasn't thinking about Mars today. His eyes had drifted to a small silver frame on his cluttered desk. He picked it up, wiping a thin layer of dust off the glass with his thumb. The photo showed two young boys standing in front of a modest house in Pretoria, South Africa. The taller boy had his arm around the shorter one's shoulders. Both were grinning wildly at the camera, their front teeth missing in almost the same spots. "Kimbal," Elon whispered, touching his brother's face in the photo. It had been nearly 4 months since they'd seen each other. 4 months of rocket launches, Tesla production problems, and endless meetings. 4 months of forgetting what mattered most. Elon set down the photo and pulled out his phone. He scrolled through his recent calls, hundreds of business contacts, but his brother's name wasn't among them. The realization made his stomach tighten with guilt. He opened Instagram and typed Kimbal's name. His brother's latest post showed him standing in a garden with school children in Boulder, Colorado. They were planting vegetables in raised beds, their small hands covered in dirt. Kimbal's smile was wide beneath his familiar cowboy hat. The caption read, "Teaching the next generation that real food comes from the earth, not a factory. These kids planted their first seeds today." Elon smiled. While he dreamed of Mars, Kimbal had always kept his feet firmly planted in the soil. His brother ran the kitchen restaurant group and spent most of his time working on projects that taught people about healthy, local food. "Two different paths to changing the world," Elon murmured. His assistant knocked softly on the door before entering with a stack of papers that needed signatures. "Joel, how's my schedule looking for next weekend?" Elon asked suddenly. The assistant looked surprised. Elon rarely asked about his schedule more than a day in advance. He preferred to work minute by minute, problem by problem. "Next weekend? You have the board meeting on Friday morning, then the factory visit in Nevada on Saturday," Joel said, checking his tablet. "Cancel it all," Elon said. "Clear my schedule from Thursday to Monday." "The entire weekend?" Joel's eyes widened. "Sir, the board members are flying in from—" "Tell them something came up. A family matter." Elon turned back to the window. "It's not a lie." When Joel left, Elon opened his laptop and began searching for something. His eyes moved quickly across the screen, the blue light reflecting in his dark pupils. After a few minutes, he sat back in his chair, a slow smile spreading across his face. "Perfect," he whispered. He picked up his phone again and dialed a number he knew by heart, but hadn't called in too long. "Christiana? It's Elon." "Yes, it's been a while." "I'm good, thanks. Listen, I need your help with something for Kimbal. Can you talk?" As his sister-in-law spoke, Elon's eyes drifted back to the photo of him and his brother as children. He remembered how they used to stay up late, whispering about their dreams. Kimbal always talked about helping people grow their own food. Even at 10 years old, he cared about teaching others to be self-sufficient. "I've found something I think he'll love," Elon told Christiana, "but it needs to be a complete surprise." After hanging up, Elon opened his browser again. This time he searched for Green Valley Farm, Boulder, Colorado. The screen filled with images of a beautiful 1,000-acre farm with mountains in the background. There were photos of families picking vegetables, children feeding chickens, and farmers teaching classes. Another search showed news articles with headlines like, "Historic Green Valley Farm may close doors after 40 years," and "Developer's Eye. Prime Boulder County land as beloved farm struggles." Elon picked up his phone one more time. "Joel, I need you to contact someone for me. Tom and Sarah Miller, owners of Green Valley Farm in Boulder County." "Yes, it's urgent." "And Joel?" "Not a word about this to anyone." Elon looked back at the photo of himself and Kimbal. In his mind, he could still hear his brother's childhood voice. "Someday, I'm going to teach everyone where food really comes from." "Someday is coming sooner than you think, little brother," Elon whispered to the photo. Outside his office window, a rocket part was being moved across the factory floor. It would someday leave Earth behind. But for once, Elon's thoughts weren't on the stars. They were on rich soil, growing things, and the brother he hadn't seen in far too long. He needed to make things right. And he knew exactly how to do it. With a gift that would leave Kimbal speechless. A gift worth millions, but worth even more in what it represented between brothers. Elon smiled to himself, already imagining the look on Kimbal's face. What he couldn't know was how this gift would unearth a promise made long ago. A promise that would mean more to both of them than all the money in the world. "Sir, I have Tom Miller on line 1, Joel announced through the intercom the next morning. Elon quickly minimized the rocket design on his computer screen and picked up the phone. "Mr. Miller, thank you for taking my call." "Mr. Musk?" The voice, on the other end, sounded confused. "I thought there must be some mistake when your assistant said you wanted to speak with me." Elon smiled. "No mistake. I understand your farm is facing some difficulties." There was a pause on the line. That's right. But how would you know about our little farm? And why would you care?" "Let's just say I have a personal interest in sustainable agriculture," Elon replied, spinning his chair to face the window. "And in your farm specifically." Over the next 30 minutes, Tom Miller explained their situation. Green Valley Farm had been teaching sustainable farming to the Boulder community for 40 years. The Millers had dedicated their lives to showing people where their food came from and how to grow it themselves. But now, rising costs and a hefty mortgage meant they would have to sell to developers who planned to build luxury homes. "We've got until the end of the month," Tom said, his voice heavy. "After that, 40 years of work gets bulldozed for swimming pools and 3-car garages." Elon tapped his fingers against his desk thoughtfully. "What if there was another option?" 2 hours later, Elon ended his third call of the morning, this one with his lawyers. He leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms above his head. The plan was coming together faster than he'd expected. His phone buzzed with a text from Christiana, Kimbal's wife. He suspects nothing. Told him about a potential investor dinner Friday night. He'll be there. Elon texted back. "Perfect. Thanks for your help." He pulled up his browser again, this time searching for Kimbal Musk, Big Green. Pictures filled his screen of his brother working with children in school gardens, teaching them to plant vegetables and cook healthy meals. Several articles described how Kimbal's nonprofit had built hundreds of learning gardens in schools across America. Elon clicked on a video interview. Kimbal appeared on screen wearing his trademark cowboy hat, speaking passionately about his mission. "Every child should understand where real food comes from," Kimbal was saying. "Not from a box or a factory, but from the earth. That connection is being lost and with it, our health and our planet's health. Watching his brother speak, Elon felt a familiar admiration mixed with a pang of guilt. When was the last time he'd really supported Kimbal's dreams the way Kimbal had always supported his? He remembered how, back when Tesla was nearly bankrupt in 2008, Kimbal had invested his last dollars to help keep the company afloat. Kimbal had believed in him when few others did. He'd risked everything for his brother's dream. Time to return. The favor, Elon murmured. He opened a new document on his computer and began typing rapidly. The heading read, Green Valley Farm Foundation. Below it, he outlined a vision. The farm would become a flagship education center, teaching sustainable agriculture to schools and families. The existing programs would expand tenfold. New technology would make the farm more efficient while reducing its environmental footprint. And the whole thing would be directed by Kimbal Musk. By lunchtime, Elon had drafted a complete proposal. He sent it to his lawyers with a note. Make this happen before Friday. Whatever it costs. His assistant knocked and entered with a sandwich. Joel, I need a jet ready on Thursday morning. Destination: Boulder, Colorado. Yes, sir. Regarding the board meeting, tell them I've got a family emergency. And the factory inspection in Nevada? Reschedule. Joel hesitated. And the 3 interviews scheduled for Friday? Cancel them all, Elon said firmly. This weekend, nothing is more important than my brother. After Joel left, Elon pulled out his personal credit card and booked a table for 2 at the Kitchen, Kimbal's original restaurant in Boulder. He smiled at the irony of making a reservation at his brother's own establishment. His phone rang. Tom Miller again. Mr. Musk, we've received the offer from your lawyers, Tom said, his voice shaking slightly. Is this for real? Very real, Mr. Miller. The price is non-negotiable. Upward, that is. If you feel it's too low, we can certainly discuss a higher figure. Too low? Tom choked out a laugh. Mr. Musk, it's nearly double what the developers offered. Then we have a deal? We have a deal. But may I ask, why? Why would you pay so much for a farm you've never even visited? Elon's eyes drifted back to the photo of him and Kimbal as children. Let's just say I'm keeping a promise to someone who once helped me keep my dreams alive. After hanging up, Elon pulled up pictures of Green Valley Farm again. He zoomed in on one showing a massive oak tree on a hill overlooking the property. Something about that tree stirred a memory, one buried deep in his childhood. He and Kimbal, sitting under a similar tree in Pretoria, making promises about the future. 2 boys with nothing but dreams and a bond that couldn't be broken. Elon suddenly opened his desk drawer and rummaged through it until he found a small, worn notebook. He flipped through the yellowed pages until he found what he was looking for: a childish sketch of 2 stick figures under a tree. Written below in a child's uneven handwriting, "Me and Kimbal's promise, don't forget." He ran his finger over the faded pencil marks. How long had it been since he'd looked at this? 25 years? 30? I haven't forgotten, he whispered to the drawing. His computer chimed with an email notification. The lawyers had already drawn up the paperwork. The farm would be purchased by the newly created Green Valley Foundation, with Kimbal listed as the director. All that remained was to transfer the funds and surprise his brother. Elon leaned back in his chair, a mix of emotions washing over him. Excitement about Kimbal's reaction, satisfaction at finally repaying his brother's unwavering support, and beneath it all, a quiet urgency he couldn't quite explain. What he couldn't share with anyone, not yet, was why this gift had to happen now. Why, after years of focusing on rockets and electric cars, he suddenly felt a desperate need to fulfill an old promise to his brother. Some gifts couldn't wait. Some promises needed to be kept while there was still time. Thursday morning dawned clear and bright in California as Elon's private jet prepared for takeoff. He climbed the stairs with a small overnight bag, nodding to the pilot. "Good morning, Mr. Musk," the pilot said. "Weather's perfect all the way to Boulder." Elon settled into his seat, placing a slim folder on the table in front of him. Inside were the final documents for Green Valley Farm, signed and processed in record time. His lawyers had worked around the clock to make it happen. The farm now belonged to the foundation, and the foundation papers listed Kimbal Musk as director. As the jet lifted into the sky, Elon felt a strange nervousness. He had given presentations to thousands of people, launched rockets that cost hundreds of millions, and faced company bankruptcy more than once. But surprising his brother made his heart beat faster than any of those things. He pulled out his phone and texted Christiana. "On my way. Everything set for tonight?" She replied almost instantly. "All good. He's coming to the kitchen at 7. Thinks he's meeting an investor from Chicago." Elon smiled, picturing Kimbal's face when he saw him instead of some investor from Chicago. His brother would be shocked, then happy. But that was just the beginning. The flight gave Elon time to think. He looked out the window at the landscape changing below, California's coast giving way to Nevada's deserts, then Utah's red rocks, and finally, Colorado's mountains. The brothers' lives had changed just as dramatically since their childhood. In South Africa. Back then, they'd shared a bedroom in their father's house in Pretoria. Kimbal was always the kindest of the siblings, the one who could make friends with anyone. While Elon read books about rockets and computers, Kimbal talked about making food that brought people together. "We're just taking different paths to the same goal," Kimbal had told him once. "You want to save the world with technology. I want to save it with food and community." The jet began its descent into Boulder. Below, the town spread out against the backdrop of the Flatiron Mountains. Somewhere down there was Kimbal's house, his restaurants, and the schools where he taught children to grow food. And just outside town was Green Valley Farm, now owned by the foundation that bore Kimbal's name. Elon's phone buzzed with another text from Christiana. "He just left for work. All clear if you want to come by the house before dinner." After landing, Elon rented a Tesla Model Y, smiling at the saleswoman's reaction when she realized who was renting it, and drove to Kimbal and Christiana's home in Boulder. He wanted to see his sister-in-law before the big surprise. Christiana was waiting on the porch when he pulled up. She ran down the steps to hug him. "He has no idea you're in town," she said, leading him inside. "He's been so busy with the school gardens program this week." "And he doesn't suspect anything." "About the farm?" Elon asked. "Not a thing. He mentioned it last night, actually. Said it was a shame it was being sold to developers." She smiled. If only he knew. Elon spent an hour catching up with Christiana and playing with his nieces and nephews. The children were sworn to secrecy about their uncle's visit, a conspiracy they found thrilling. "Remember," Elon told the oldest, 7-year-old Jake, "not a word to your dad." Jake nodded seriously. "I promise, Uncle Elon. Cross my heart." As evening approached, Elon drove to downtown Boulder. The kitchen was located on Pearl Street, in the heart of the walking district. It was Kimbal's first restaurant, opened years ago with a simple idea: serve real food from local farms. Now, Kimbal had restaurants in several states, all following the same farm-to-table philosophy. Elon had always admired his brother's determination to change the food system, one meal at a time. He parked a block away and walked to the restaurant, pulling his baseball cap low to avoid being recognized. The hostess showed him to a quiet table in the back. "The reservation was for Olson," he said, using the fake name he'd given. "Yes, sir. Right this way. Your guest hasn't arrived yet." Elon smiled. "He doesn't know I'm his guest." The hostess looked confused, but led him to the table anyway. Elon checked his watch. 6:45 p.m. 15 minutes until Kimbal would arrive, expecting to meet a potential investor. He ordered water and looked around the restaurant his brother had built. The walls featured photos of local farmers. The menu listed the farms where each ingredient came from. Everything about the place reflected Kimbal's vision of connecting people to their food. At exactly 7:04 p.m., the front door opened, and Kimbal, Musk, walked in. He wore a blue button-down shirt under his customary cowboy hat. Elon watched as his brother spoke to the hostess, who pointed toward the back. Kimbal turned, his eyes scanning for the Chicago investor. When his gaze landed on Elon, he froze mid-step. His mouth opened, then closed. For a moment, the brothers just stared at each other across the restaurant. Then Kimbal's face broke into an enormous smile. "Elon," he said, rushing forward. "What in the world are you doing here?" Elon stood up, grinning as his brother reached the table. They embraced, Kimbal practically lifting Elon off the ground in his excitement. "Surprise," Elon said simply, patting his brother's back. Kimbal stepped back, shaking his head in disbelief. "But I was supposed to meet an investor from Chicago." "There is no investor from Chicago," Elon admitted. "That was just to get you here." Kimbal laughed, taking off his cowboy hat and running a hand through his hair. "Christiana was in on this, wasn't she?" "Guilty as charged," Elon said, gesturing for Kimbal to sit down. "I needed an accomplice." The waiter approached with menus, but Kimbal waved him away. "We don't need those. Bring us the chef's selection, Jake, and a bottle of that Colorado Red we just added to the list." As the waiter walked away, Kimbal leaned forward. "Seriously, what are you doing in Boulder? Last I heard, you were neck-deep in production issues at the Texas factory." "Can't a guy just visit his brother?" Elon asked innocently. Kimbal narrowed his eyes. "You? The guy who canceled Christmas dinner last year because of a rocket test? The same guy who forgot my birthday because you were launching a new Tesla model?" Elon winced. "That's exactly why I'm here. I've been a terrible brother lately." "You've been changing the world lately," Kimbal corrected. "I understand how busy you are." The waiter returned with wine and poured 2 glasses. Kimbal raised his A in a toast. "To unexpected visits from my favorite brother," he said. "I'm your only brother," Elon replied, clinking his glass against Kimbal's, "which makes you my favorite by default." They both laughed, and just like that, the months of separation melted away. They were just Elon and Kimbal again, the same brothers who had shared dreams under the South African sky all those years ago. As they enjoyed the first course, a salad made with greens from a farm just outside Boulder, Kimbal updated Elon on his recent projects. "We've installed learning gardens in 30 more schools this spring," he said proudly. "You should see these kids, Elon. Inner-city kids who've never seen a vegetable grow, suddenly harvesting their own carrots and tomatoes. Their faces just light up." Elon smiled, watching his brother's enthusiasm. Kimbal had always been the people person between them. While Elon calculated rocket trajectories, Kimbal built communities around food. "And the restaurants are doing well?" Elon asked. "Better," than ever. We're opening another one in Denver next month. Kimbal sipped his wine. But enough about me. What's happening at SpaceX? Last launch looked perfect. For the next hour, over plates of locally raised lamb and roasted vegetables, they caught up on each other's lives. Elon talked about the latest rocket developments and Tesla's new battery technology. Kimbal shared stories about his school programs and restaurant expansions. Between courses, Kimbal introduced Elon to the staff. Some of them had worked at the kitchen since it opened, and they greeted Kimbal with the warmth of family. "Your brother built something special here," the head chef told Elon as he delivered their dessert. Honey lavender ice cream made with honey from the restaurant's rooftop beehives. "He always does," Elon replied, feeling a swell of pride. As they finished their meal, the restaurant began to empty. Kimbal glanced at his watch. "It's getting late. Christiana will be wondering where I am." He paused, narrowing his eyes again. "Unless she already knows you're here?" Elon shrugged innocently. "Maybe." "You Musk boys and your secrets," said a voice behind them. They looked up to see Christiana standing there, smiling. "The kids are in bed," she told Kimbal, bending to kiss his cheek. "I thought I'd come join you two for a nightcap." Kimbal looked between his wife and brother. "You two are up to something." "What makes you say that?" Christiana asked, sliding into a chair. "Because I know both of you," Kimbal said. "And neither one of you is as innocent as you're pretending to be right now." Elon laughed. "We just wanted to surprise you. Is that so suspicious? Coming from you?" "Absolutely." They ordered another round of drinks, and Christiana joined the conversation. The three of them talked late into the night, until the restaurant staff had cleaned up everything except their table. "We should probably let these people go home," Kimbal finally said, noticing they were the last customers. As they walked out onto Pearl Street, the spring night was cool and clear. Stars sparkled above the mountains surrounding Boulder. "Where are you staying?" Kimbal asked Elon. "I booked a hotel downtown." "Cancel it," Kimbal said firmly. "You're staying with us." "I don't want to impose." "It's not an imposition," Christiana insisted. "The guest room is all ready for you." Elon raised an eyebrow at his sister-in-law. "Already, huh? Almost like you knew I was coming." Kimbal laughed, slinging an arm around Elon's shoulders. "Come on, I'll drive. We can pick up your rental car tomorrow." On the drive to their house, Kimbal asked, "So, how long are you in town for?" "Just the weekend," Elon said. "I fly back Monday morning." "A whole weekend? You must have canceled a dozen important meetings." "A few," Elon admitted. "Nothing that couldn't wait." Kimbal glanced at him, surprise visible in the dashboard lights. "Seriously? No emergencies calling you back to California? No rocket about to launch?" "Not this weekend." Elon looked out at the Boulder streets passing by. "This weekend is just for us." Kimbal was quiet for a moment. Then he said softly, "It's really good to see you, Elon." "You too, little brother." At Kimbal's house, Christiana showed Elon to the guest room while Kimbal checked on the sleeping children. "Everything's arranged for tomorrow," Christiana whispered to Elon in the hallway. "Whoa, road." "Tom and Sarah will be at the farm at 10. "Perfect," Elon whispered back. "Thanks for all your help with this." Kimbal appeared at the end of the hall. "What are you two whispering about?" "Nothing," they said in unison, too quickly. Kimbal crossed his arms. "Now I know you're up to something." Elon yawned dramatically. "I'm exhausted from the flight. See you both in the morning." As he closed the guest room door, he heard Kimbal asking Christiana, "Seriously, what's going on?" Elon smiled to himself as he got ready for bed. By this time tomorrow, Kimbal would know exactly what was going on. And if all went according to plan, his brother would be speechless for the first time in his life. What Kimbal couldn't possibly suspect was that everything, the surprise visit, the farm, all of it, was tied to a promise made between two boys under an African tree nearly 30 years ago. A promise Elon intended to keep, no matter what. Elon woke to the sound of children giggling outside his door. He checked his watch. 6:30 a.m. The Musk family had always been early risers, even the next generation. He dressed quickly and found Kimbal in the kitchen, flipping pancakes while his children set the table. Morning sunlight streamed through large windows overlooking a backyard garden where vegetables grew in neat rows. "Uncle Elon!" 7-year-old Jake ran to hug him, followed by his younger sisters, Emma and Lila. "Did you bring us anything from space?" Emma asked hopefully. Elon laughed. "Not this time, but maybe next visit." Kimbal handed Elon a cup of coffee. "Sleep well?" "Better than I have in months," Elon admitted. It was true. Away from the constant pressure of his companies, he'd slept deeply for the first time in weeks. Breakfast was a lively affair, with the children peppering Elon with questions about rockets and Mars. Christiana kept giving Elon meaningful glances when Kimbal wasn't looking. "So, what's the plan today?" Kimbal asked as they cleared the dishes. "I thought we could take a drive," Elon said casually. "I need your help with something." "My help?" Kimbal raised an eyebrow. "What could the great Elon Musk possibly need my help with?" "You'd be surprised," Elon said. "Can you spare a few hours this morning?" Kimbal looked to Christiana, who nodded encouragingly. "I've got the kids. You two go catch up." An hour later, they were driving through Boulder in Elon's rented Tesla. Kimbal noticed his brother seemed unusually quiet. "Everything okay?" Kimbal asked. "You seem tense." "Just thinking," Elon replied, his eyes on the road. "About what?" "Do you remember that summer in Pretoria when Dad took us camping? We were, 11 and 9? Kimbal smiled. "How could I forget? You spent the whole time talking about building a rocket to Mars. And you kept wandering off to collect wild plants to cook. Dad was so mad when I put those mushrooms in the stew, because they gave everyone stomach cramps for 2 days." They both laughed at the memory. "Why are you thinking about that now?" Kimbal asked. Elon shrugged. "Just remembering how, even back then, we had such different interests. You with your food, me with my rockets. But somehow, we always understood each other." "We still do," Kimbal said, "even when we don't talk for months." As they left Boulder behind, the landscape opened up. Fields stretched toward the mountains, green with spring growth. Elon turned onto a county road, then onto a smaller gravel road. "Where are we going?" Kimbal asked, looking around with growing interest. "Wait, isn't this—" "What?" Elon asked innocently. "This looks like the road to Green Valley Farm. I was just reading about it in the local paper. It's being sold to developers." Kimbal's voice held genuine sadness. "It's a real shame. They've been teaching sustainable farming techniques for decades." "Is that so?" Elon kept his eyes straight ahead, fighting a smile. "Yeah, I actually looked into buying it for Big Green last year, but it was way beyond our budget." Kimbal turned to look at his brother. "Why are we going there?" "I thought it might be interesting to see." Kimbal studied Elon's face. "You hate farms. You once said agriculture was just organized dirt." "I've evolved," Elon said with a straight face. The gravel road curved through a stand of trees, then opened up to reveal a stunning vista. Green Valley Farm spread before them. Fields in various stages of planting, orchards in bloom, and greenhouses glinting in the morning sun. A large red barn stood in the center, surrounded by smaller outbuildings. Beyond it all rose the snow-capped Rocky Mountains. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" Kimbal said softly. "All this will be bulldozed for McMansions next month." Elon pulled into the farm's entrance, where a wooden sign read, "Green Valley Farm, growing. Community since 1982. He parked in front of the barn, where an older couple stood waiting. The woman waved enthusiastically when she saw the Tesla. "Who are they?" Kimbal asked, confused. "And why do they look like they're expecting us?" "Tom and Sarah Miller," Elon said, unbuckling his seatbelt. "The owners." "You know them?" "How do you know them?" Elon smiled mysteriously. "Let's go find out." As they got out of the car, Kimbal grabbed Elon's arm. "What's going on here, Elon? First you show up out of nowhere. Now we're at a farm you supposedly know nothing about. And the owners are waiting for us like we have an appointment." "Patience, little brother," Elon said, patting Kimbal's hand. "Some surprises are worth waiting for." They walked toward the barn, where Tom and Sarah Miller stood smiling. The couple appeared to be in their 60s, with sun-weathered faces that spoke of decades working outdoors. Tom wore overalls and a flannel shirt, while Sarah had on jeans and a denim work shirt with the farm's logo. "Mr. Musk!" Tom called out, stepping forward to shake Elon's hand. "Wonderful to finally meet you in person." "Please, call me Elon," he replied. "And this is my brother, Kimbal." Tom turned to Kimbal with an even bigger smile. "Mr. Kimbal Musk, we've followed your work with Big Green for years. Your school gardens program is revolutionary." Kimbal shook Tom's hand, looking bewildered. "Thank you, but how do you know my brother?" Sarah laughed. "Oh, we've been talking on the phone all week, planning everything." "Planning what?" Kimbal asked, turning to Elon with narrowed eyes. "Let's show you around first," Elon suggested, ignoring his brother's suspicious look. "I'd love to see the whole operation, Tom." "Of course." Tom gestured toward a path that led through the fields. "We'll start with the main growing areas, then work our way to the education center." As they walked, Tom explained the farm's history. His parents had started it in 1982 as a traditional farm, but Tom and Sarah had transformed it into an education center where people could learn sustainable farming practices. "Last year, we taught over 5,000 people how to grow their own food," Sarah said proudly. "From preschoolers to retirees." "That's amazing," Kimbal said, his confusion momentarily forgotten as he examined the clever irrigation system they'd developed. "This is exactly the kind of hands-on education we try to promote at Big Green." They passed through fields where different crops grew in careful rotation. Tom explained how they used companion planting and natural pest control instead of chemicals. In one field, workers were installing what looked like solar panels. "That's new," Kimbal observed. "Brand new," Tom agreed with a significant look at Elon. "Just arrived yesterday. Part of our upgrade." "Upgrade?" Kimbal looked between Tom and his brother. "Let's keep going," Elon said, moving ahead on the path. They next visited the greenhouses, where seedlings were being started for the summer growing season. Students from a local elementary school were there on a field trip, their small hands carefully planting seeds in biodegradable pots. A young teacher spotted Kimbal and gasped, "You're Kimbal Musk. The kids just read about your Learning Gardens program last week." Kimbal smiled, kneeling down to talk with the children about what they were planting. Elon watched his brother light up as he helped a small girl properly plant a tomato seedling. "He's a natural with them," Sarah said quietly to Elon. "Always has been," Elon agreed, "even when we were kids." As they continued touring the farm, Kimbal grew increasingly suspicious. Everywhere they went, people seemed to know Elon. New equipment was being delivered. Improvements were underway in various areas. Elon, Kimbal said finally, as they walked toward a beautiful old oak tree on a hill overlooking the property. What exactly is going on here? Before Elon could answer, Kimbal's phone buzzed. He pulled it out, frowning at the screen. "It's the contractor for our new Denver restaurant," he told Elon. "I need to take this. Give me 5 minutes." As Kimbal stepped away to take the call, Tom turned to Elon. "So he really doesn't know yet?" "Not a clue," Elon said, smiling. "The paperwork arrived this morning," Sarah added. "Everything's official now." Perfect timing. Elon looked up at the massive oak tree. "This tree? How old is it?" "Over 100 years," Tom said. "It was here long before the farm." Elon walked closer to the tree, placing his hand on its rough bark. Something about it reminded him strongly of another tree, halfway around the world, where two boys had once shared their dreams. Kimbal rejoined them, putting his phone away. "Sorry about that. Contractor problems." "Everything okay?" Elon asked. "Fine, just a minor issue with the kitchen layout." Kimbal looked around. "So what's this part of the farm?" "We call it Reflection Hill," Sarah explained. "It's where we bring groups to sit and connect with the land. There's something special about seeing the whole farm spread out below you." They all stood silently for a moment, taking in the view. The farm was beautiful from this vantage point, a patchwork of fields, orchards, and buildings, all nestled against the backdrop of the mountains. "Hard to believe developers will bulldoze all this next month," Kimbal said sadly. Tom and Sarah exchanged glances, then looked at Elon. "Actually," Tom said slowly, "there's been a change of plans." Kimbal turned to him. "What do you mean?" "The farm isn't being sold to developers after all," Sarah explained. "That's wonderful news!" Kimbal exclaimed. "Did you find another buyer? Someone who'll keep it as a farm?" "You could say that," Tom replied with a smile. "We did find the perfect new owner." "Who?" Kimbal asked. Tom looked at Elon, who nodded. "It was time. Let's head back to the barn," Elon suggested. "There's something there I want to show you." As they walked back, Elon's phone buzzed. He checked it discreetly, a message from his assistant. "Joel, transfer complete. All funds received." Everything was ready. The final piece of his surprise was in place. Back at the barn, a small group had gathered. Farm workers, some of the teachers from the school groups, and a few people Kimbal didn't recognize. "What's happening?" Kimbal asked, growing more confused by the minute. "Elon, seriously, what is going on here?" Elon just smiled mysteriously and led his brother inside the barn. On a table in the center lay a manila folder with the Green Valley farm logo. "Open it," Elon said simply. Kimbal looked at his brother for a long moment, then reached for the folder. Whatever was inside would finally explain why his tech-obsessed brother had suddenly developed an interest in an educational farm in Colorado. As Kimbal opened the folder and began reading the first page, his eyes widened in shock. "What is this?" he whispered, looking up at Elon. The document was titled Green Valley Farm Foundation, with Kimbal's name listed as director. Below that was a deed transfer, showing the farm's ownership changing from Tom and Sarah Miller to the newly formed foundation. "Keep reading," Elon encouraged. Kimbal turned to the next page, which outlined a $25 million endowment to support the farm's operations and expansion. His hands began to tremble slightly as he read further. "Elon, what have you done?" Kimbal asked, his voice barely audible. "Something I should have done a long time ago," Elon replied. "Supporting your vision the way you've always supported mine." Tom stepped forward. "Mr. Musk, Kimbal, your brother purchased the farm from us. But instead of keeping it for himself, he's created a foundation with you as the director. The farm is yours now, Sarah added. Or rather, it belongs to your foundation, to fulfill your mission of teaching people about real food. Kimbal looked stunned, flipping through more pages that detailed plans for expanding the farm's educational programs, adding new facilities, and reaching 10 times more people than before. But how did you even know about this place? Kimbal asked Elon. I pay attention to what matters to you, Elon said simply. More than you might think. Kimbal shook his head in disbelief. I don't know what to say. That's a first, Elon joked, earning a surprised laugh from his brother. The barn doors opened, and a group of about 20 people filed in. Kimbal recognized some of the farm workers he'd met earlier, but there were others he didn't know. A young woman in her 20s stepped forward. Mr. Musk, I'm Maya Rodriguez. I learned to garden here at Green Valley 5 years ago. Now I run a community garden in a food desert in Denver that feeds over 40 families. An older man joined her. I'm Bill Chen. After I retired, I took classes. Here and now, teach urban farming to seniors in my community. This farm changed my life. One by one, people stepped forward to share how Green Valley Farm had impacted them. A teacher who brought her students every year. A teenager who discovered his passion for agricultural science. A refugee family who learned to grow foods from their homeland. Kimbal listened to each story, visibly moved. These were exactly the BTD kinds of connections he had dedicated his life to creating. People reconnecting with their food and with each other. And now, so many more people will have these opportunities, Sarah said, smiling through tears, because of this foundation. Because of both of you, Tom added, looking between the brothers. Your vision, Kimbal, and your generosity, Elon. Kimbal turned to his brother. I don't know how to thank you. You don't need to, Elon replied. Just do what you've always done. Change the world one meal at a time. After everyone had shared their stories, the group moved outside where tables had been set up for lunch. The meal was a true farm-to-table experience, with every ingredient harvested that morning from the very fields they had toured. As they ate, Kimbal asked questions about the farm's operations, his mind already working through how to expand its impact. Tom explained their current programs, while Sarah showed Kimbal a map of the property, pointing out areas with potential for growth. We've always wanted to build a teaching kitchen, Sarah told him, a place where people could learn to cook what they grow. That's perfect, Kimbal agreed eagerly. And what about greenhouses for year-round growing? There's room for at least 4 more, Tom said. And with the new solar panels your brother ordered, we'll have enough clean energy to power them through the winter. Elon watched his brother come alive with excitement, that familiar spark in his eyes when he envisioned new possibilities. It was the same look Kimbal had when they were children, dreaming up ways to make the world better. Between courses, Kimbal circulated among the community members, listening to their stories and ideas. A group of teenagers told him about their plan to start a farmers market run entirely by youth. A teacher described her dream of an overnight camp where city kids could experience farm life. We could actually do all of this now, Kimbal kept saying, amazed at the possibilities the foundation opened up. After lunch, a little girl about 6 years old approached Kimbal shyly. She held up a small potted seedling. I grew this for you. Mr. Musk, she said. It's a tomato plant. My grandpa says you teach people to grow food. Kimbal knelt down to her level and accepted the gift. Thank you. What's your name? Lily, she answered. My grandpa works here. He says now more kids like me can learn about plants because of you and your brother. Kimbal looked up to see an elderly farm worker nodding in their direction. "Do you like growing things, Lily?" Kimbal asked. She nodded enthusiastically. "I want to be a farmer when I grow up. Or maybe an astronaut farmer who grows food on Mars." Kimbal laughed, glancing at Elon. "Well, my brother might be able to help with the Mars part." As the afternoon continued, Kimbal and Elon walked the property. Again, this time with Kimbal pointing out all the possibilities he envisioned. His initial shock had transformed into energetic planning. "We could build an amphitheater here for demonstrations," he said, gesturing to a natural depression in the land. "And this field could be divided into community garden plots for families, without growing space at home." Elon nodded, enjoying his brother's enthusiasm. "Whatever you want to do, the foundation will support it." "I still can't believe you did this," Kimbal said, stopping to face his brother. "It's the most meaningful gift anyone has ever given me." "You deserve it," Elon replied simply. "You've been changing the food system one step at a time for years. Now you can do it on an even bigger scale." As the day began to wind down, they found themselves back under the old oak tree on the hill. The view was even more beautiful in the late afternoon light, with long shadows stretching across the fields. "You know," Kimbal said thoughtfully, "this tree reminds me of the one in our backyard in Pretoria. Remember how we used to sit under it and talk about how we'd change the world someday?" Elon looked at his brother sharply. "You remember that?" "Of course I do," Kimbal replied. "Those were some of my favorite memories from childhood. You with your space dreams, me with my farming ideas." Elon nodded slowly, his expression unreadable. "Odd, I've been thinking about those days a lot recently." Kimbal studied his brother's face. "There's something else going on here, isn't there? This isn't just about the farm." Elon hesitated, then nodded slightly. "Let's save that conversation for tomorrow." "Why not now?" "Because today is about this." Elon gestured to the farm below them. "About you and your vision. The rest can wait one more day." Kimbal wanted to press further, but respected his brother's wish. Whatever Elon wasn't telling, him would keep until tomorrow. For now, he wanted to savor this incredible gift, and what it would mean for thousands of people in the years to come. What he didn't realize was that the true purpose behind Elon's generosity was both simpler and more complex than he could imagine, tied to a childhood promise that now, suddenly, had become urgent to fulfill. As evening approached, Kimbal and Elon joined Tom and Sarah for dinner at the farmhouse. The dining room featured a long wooden table made from a tree that had once stood on the property. Through windows on all sides, they could see the last golden rays of sunlight stretching across the fields. "This place has been our whole life," Tom said, passing a bowl of roasted vegetables harvested that morning. "Knowing it will continue to fulfill its purpose means everything to us." "We always hoped someone would carry on our work," Sarah added. "We just never imagined it would be someone like you, Kimbal." "I'm still trying to wrap my head around it," Kimbal admitted, glancing at his brother. "It's a responsibility I take very seriously." "You'll have our help," Tom assured him. "We'll stay on as advisors for as long as you need us." Elon was quieter than usual during dinner, checking his phone occasionally. Kimbal noticed his brother seemed distracted, almost nervous. "Everything okay?" Kimbal asked quietly, while Tom and Sarah were clearing plates. "Fine," Elon replied, though his expression suggested otherwise. "Just waiting for an email." As they finished their meal with apple pie, made from the farm's orchard, Elon's phone buzzed. He checked it and nodded slightly to himself. "Sarah," he said, "is your office available for a few minutes? I need to show Kimbal something." "Of course," she replied. "It's just down the hall, first door on the right." The brothers excused themselves and walked to the small office. It was a simple room, with a desk overlooking the eastern fields, now dark in the twilight. Framed photos covering the walls showed the farm's evolution over 4 decades. Elon closed the door and pulled a folder from his jacket pocket. It wasn't the same folder from earlier with the farm documents. This one had no markings. "What's that?" Kimbal asked, curious. "Something I want your opinion on," Elon said, his voice carefully casual. "Just a project I've been thinking about." Kimbal raised an eyebrow. "Since when do you ask my opinion on your projects? Maybe I should have done it more often." Elon set the folder on the desk. "Take a look." Kimbal sat in the desk chair and opened the folder. Inside was a single document. Medical test results. His eyes widened as he read the heading. Patient, Elon Musk. Further down were words like anomalous findings and further testing recommended. Elon... Kimbal looked up at his brother, concern washing over his face. "What is this?" Elon looked out the window, not meeting Kimbal's eyes. "Just some test results from last month." "These aren't just some test results," Kimbal said, his voice rising slightly. "This says they found..." "It's preliminary," Elon interrupted. "Nothing definitive yet. But it says they need to run more tests immediately. Have you scheduled the follow-up?" "Next week." Kimbal stood, the folder still in his hand. "And you're just telling me this now? After all day? After all this?" He gestured vaguely, indicating the farm and everything that had happened. "I didn't want it to overshadow today," Elon said quietly. "Overshadow? Elon, this is your health we're talking about." Kimbal's voice betrayed his growing alarm. "Does anyone else know? Have you told Mom?" Elon shook his head. "Just my personal doctor and now you." Kimbal paced the small office, running a hand through his hair. "So that's what this is all about? The surprise visit? The farm? All of it? Because you're sick?" "That's not exactly..." "You should have told me immediately," Kimbal interrupted. Not turned it into some elaborate gift reveal. "It's not what you think," Elon protested. "The farm isn't because I'm sick. It's because..." He stopped himself. "Because what?" Kimbal demanded. Elon took a deep breath. "Let's talk about it tomorrow. At the farm. There's a spot I want to show." "You? Under the oak tree," Kimbal guessed, his expression softening slightly. "That's why you were so interested in it, isn't it?" Elon nodded. "It reminded me of something important." Kimbal looked back at the medical document, then carefully placed it back in the folder. When he spoke again, his voice was calmer. "How serious? Is it? Really?" "I don't know yet," Elon admitted. "Could be nothing, could be something." "And you're still flying back on Monday?" "Have to. There's a crucial board meeting Tuesday morning." Kimbal shook his head in disbelief. "Even now, work comes first." "It's not like that," Elon said. "There are thousands of people depending on me, jobs at stake. I can't just disappear because of some inconclusive test results." They stood in silence for a moment, the weight of the revelation hanging between them. Through the window, stars had begun to appear in the darkening sky. "Promise me something," Kimbal finally said. "What?" "No more secrets. Whatever these follow-up tests show, you tell me immediately." "I promise," Elon agreed. Kimbal moved to embrace his brother, holding him tightly. "We'll figure this out, whatever it is." "I know," Elon said simply. As they returned to the dining room, Kimbal's mind raced with questions. The farm, the foundation, the medical tests, how did it all connect? What wasn't Elon telling him? The answer, he suspected, waited for them. tomorrow under an oak tree that reminded them both of their childhood. An answer that would reveal the true meaning behind his brother's extraordinary gift. Morning arrived with a gentle mist hovering over Green Valley Farm. Kimbal had barely slept, his mind racing with questions about Elon's health and what it meant for all of them. He'd resisted the urge to search online about the medical terms in the report, knowing it would only fuel his anxiety. Elon, meanwhile, had risen before dawn. When Kimbal came downstairs at the farmhouse where they'd spent the night as Tom and Sarah's guests, he found his brother already on the porch with a cup of coffee, watching the sun burn away the morning fog. "Been up long?" Kimbal asked, joining him with his own steaming mug. "Couple of hours," Elon admitted. "I wanted to see the sunrise here." They sat in companionable silence for a while, each lost in thought as the farm came to life around them. Workers arrived in pickup trucks. Sprinklers switched on in distant fields. A tractor rumbled down a dirt road. "It's beautiful," Kimbal finally said. "I can see why you chose this place." "It reminded me of you," Elon replied simply. "Everything about it. Teaching people about food, building community, preparing for a better future. It's everything you've worked for." After breakfast with Tom and Sarah, the brothers decided to walk the property again. This time, they headed straight for the oak tree on the hill. By unspoken agreement, they knew this was where their conversation needed to happen. The morning was warming quickly, promising a beautiful spring day. As they climbed the gentle slope to the tree, Kimbal noticed how the entire farm was visible from this vantage point, like a living map of everything the foundation could accomplish. They reached the tree and stood beneath its spreading branches. New leaves had just emerged, creating a dappled shade beneath. "So," Kimbal said, leaning against the trunk, "time to tell me what's really going on." Elon took a deep breath. "Do you remember the summer before I left for Canada? When we were teenagers?" "Of course. Dad was angry you were leaving. Mom was proud but worried. I was just sad my big brother was going halfway around the world." "Do you remember the night before I left? We snuck out to that big tree behind Dad's house." Kimbal's eyes widened slightly. "I haven't thought about that in years. We stayed up all night talking." "About our dreams," Elon continued. "About what we wanted to accomplish someday." "You talked about building rockets and electric cars," Kimbal recalled, smiling. "Everyone thought you were crazy." "Everyone except you," Elon said softly. "You believed in me when no one else did." "Because I knew you, Elon. Better than anyone." Elon nodded, looking out over the farm rather than at his brother. "That night, we made a promise to each other. Do you remember?" Kimbal was quiet for a moment, searching his memory. "Something about helping each other?" "We promised that if either of us ever succeeded, really succeeded, we would help the other achieve their dream too," Elon said. "No matter what." "That's right," Kimbal said, slowly. "We shook on it. And then we took a knife and carved our initials in the tree," Elon added, "to seal the promise. EM plus KM, Kimbal recalled. Dad was furious when he found out we'd damaged his tree." Elon smiled briefly at the memory, then grew serious again. "When I found this farm and I saw this oak tree, it brought it all back. The promise we made. The brothers we were." He paused. "The brothers we still are." "But what does this have to do with those medical results?" Kimbal asked, the concern evident in his voice. Elon finally turned to face his brother directly. "When the doctor found those anomalies, it scared me, Kimbal. For the first time in my life, I had to confront the idea that I might not have all the time I thought I did." "Elon, let me finish," Elon said gently. It made me think about what matters, about promises kept and promises broken, about regrets. And you regretted not helping me more with my work, Kimbal guessed. Exactly. Elon gestured toward the farm spread out below them. You've supported me through everything. Tesla, SpaceX, all of it. You invested your last dollar in Tesla when we were about to go bankrupt. You believed in me when everyone else thought I was crazy. That's what brothers do, Kimbal said simply. But I haven't done the same for you, Elon continued. I've been so focused on my companies, my vision. This farm, this foundation, it's me finally keeping my promise. Better late than never. You didn't need to do this because of a medical scare, Kimbal protested. I never expected. It's not just because of that, Elon interrupted. The timing, yes, but I've been thinking about doing something like this for years. I just never made the time. I always thought there would be plenty of time later. And now, Elon shrugged. Now, I don't know. The tests next week will tell us more. Kimbal was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. So you're telling me that this incredible gift, this foundation that will help thousands of people learn about sustainable food, it all came from a promise two teenage boys made under a tree in South Africa 30 years ago? That's exactly what I'm telling you, Elon confirmed. Sometimes the simplest promises are the most important ones to keep. Kimbal shook his head in amazement. Only you would remember a childhood promise and fulfill it with a multi-million-dollar foundation. Go big or go home, right? Elon grinned, a flash of his usual confidence returning. Whatever these tests show next week, Kimbal said, placing a hand on his brother's shoulder. We'll face it together, just like we always have. Elon nodded, visibly moved by his brother's words. There's one more thing, he said, reaching into his pocket. He pulled out a small pocket knife and held it up. What do you say we continue the tradition? Kimbal laughed. You want to carve our initials in this tree? I'm pretty sure that's vandalism, even if we do own the place now. Not vandalism, Elon insisted. A reminder for us and for everyone who comes after. That promises matter. That brothers matter. Kimbal looked at his brother, the world's richest man, the visionary behind Tesla and SpaceX, the person who had made his impossible dreams reality. And yet, in this moment, he was just Elon, Kimbal's brother, keeping a promise made long ago. Hand me that knife, Kimbal said with a smile. Elon passed the small pocket knife to his brother, who carefully opened it and studied the tree's rough bark. Where should we do it? Kimbal asked, looking up at the massive branches spreading above. Them! How about here? Elon suggested, pointing to a spot about eye level on the trunk, where future visitors might notice it. Kimbal nodded and began to carve. With slow, deliberate strokes, he etched EM into the bark, then a plus sign, and finally, KM. Below that, he added the date. There, he said, handing the knife back to Elon. Now, we've officially consecrated this place. Elon ran his fingers over the freshly carved initials. Now, we've kept our promise to each other. As they stood there, Tom appeared at the bottom of the hill, waving to get their attention. Lunch is ready when you are, he called up to them. We'll be right down, Kimbal replied. But neither brother moved immediately. The moment felt too important to rush. Around them, the farm continued its daily rhythms. Workers in the fields, birds flying overhead, the distant sound of a tractor. I still can't believe you remembered that promise after all these years, Kimbal said finally. Elon looked down at his feet, suddenly hesitant. There's something else I haven't told you. Kimbal felt his chest tighten. About your health? No. About the promise. Elon pulled out his wallet and carefully extracted a small folded piece of paper, worn thin at the creases from years of being carried. He unfolded it and handed it to Kimbal. It was a child's drawing, faded with age, two stick figures standing under a tree with the words, "Me and Kimbal's promise, don't forget," written below in a child's handwriting. "You've carried this all these years?" Kimbal asked, astonished. Elon nodded. "Since the day I left for Canada. I've had it in my wallet through everything: college, PayPal, Tesla, SpaceX, every success, every failure." Kimbal stared at the drawing, deeply moved. "I had no idea." "Yay, was my reminder," Elon said quietly, "that no matter what I achieved, I had a promise to keep." A gentle breeze rustled the oak's new leaves above them. In the distance, children's voices could be heard. Another school group arriving for a tour of the farm. "Those medical results," Kimbal said hesitantly. "How serious do you really think they are?" Elon was quiet for a moment before answering. "The doctor said it could be nothing, an anomaly in the test itself. Or it could be something requiring immediate treatment. And you're not scared." "I'm terrified," Elon admitted with surprising honesty. "Not of dying exactly, but of leaving things unfinished." "The companies?" Kimbal asked. "That too, but mainly personal things. Promises to keep, relationships to repair." He looked directly at his brother. "That's why I couldn't wait any longer to do this." Kimbal carefully refolded the drawing and handed it back to Elon, who returned it to his wallet. "Whatever happens with those tests," Kimbal said firmly, "we'll face it together. And this farm, this foundation, it's going to help thousands of people regardless." "Millions, if you have your way," Elon said with a small smile. They began walking down the hill toward the farmhouse, where Lunch and the others waited. As they walked, Kimbal's mind raced with plans for the foundation, but also with worry for his brother. "When exactly is your follow-up appointment?" he asked. "Wednesday morning. I'm coming with you," Kimbal stated, not asking permission. To his surprise, Elon didn't argue. "I'd like that." As they neared the farmhouse, surrounded by the fields and orchards that now belonged to Kimbal's foundation, Elon stopped suddenly. "There's one more thing I need to tell you," he said, his voice serious. Kimbal turned to face him, bracing himself for more troubling news. "What is it?" Elon looked directly into his brother's eyes, his expression unreadable. But instead of speaking, he reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. He unlocked it and handed it to Kimbal. On the screen was an email from Elon's doctor. Kimbal began reading, his heart pounding with fear of what he might find. As his eyes scanned the message, his expression changed from concern to confusion, and then to understanding. He looked up at his brother, who was watching him intently. "Elon, when did you get this?" "This morning, before you woke up." Kimbal looked back at the phone, then at his brother again. A mix of emotions crossed his face. Relief, joy, and something. That might have been suspicion. "Why didn't you tell me immediately?" he asked. "Because I needed you to understand that this farm, this gift, it wasn't just because I thought I was sick," Elon explained. "That might have been the catalyst, but the promise was always there, waiting to be fulfilled." Kimbal handed the phone back to his brother, still processing what he had read. The revelation changed everything. And nothing. "Come on," Elon said, gesturing toward the farmhouse where people were gathering for lunch. "They're waiting for us." As they walked the final distance, Kimbal thought about the email and what it meant. About promises made and kept. About brothers who took different paths, but remained connected by something deeper than success or failure. What he couldn't know was that the most important revelation still waited for him tomorrow, under the oak tree, where two sets of initials now marked a promise renewed. The next morning dawned clear and bright over Green Valley Farm. It was Monday, the day Elon was scheduled to fly back to California. After a quiet breakfast with Tom and Sarah, the brothers decided to take one last walk around the property before Elon needed to leave for the airport. Almost by instinct, their path led them back to the oak tree on the hill. The morning sun cast long shadows across the fields below, where workers were already busy tending crops. In the distance, another school bus was arriving, filled with children eager to learn where their food came from. "Your flight's at noon?" Kimbal asked as they reached the tree. "Yes," Elon replied. "Joel's arranged for a car to pick me up in an hour." They stood silently for a moment, looking out over the farm that would now become a cornerstone of Kimbal's work. The foundation papers had been finalized yesterday afternoon. Everything was official. "You never told me what was in that email," Kimbal said finally. "The one from your doctor?" Elon leaned against the tree trunk, his hand unconsciously tracing their freshly carved initials. "It said the initial tests were inconclusive. Something about lab error. They want to redo them." "So you don't know anything for sure?" "Not yet. That's what Wednesday's appointment is for." Kimbal studied his brother's face. "You're not telling me everything, are you?" Elon smiled faintly. "You always could read me too well." "What is it?" Kimbal pressed. "Whatever it is, just tell me." Elon took a deep breath, looking out over the farm rather than at his brother. "The truth is, there never was a medical scare." "What?" Kimbal stared at him in disbelief. "Those test results I showed you, they weren't mine." Elon finally met his brother's eyes. "They were our father's, from 25 years ago." Kimbal's confusion was evident. "Dad's? But why would you? Do you remember when Dad got sick? Right after I moved to Canada?" "Vaguely," Kimbal said, frowning as he searched his memory. "I was only 10 or 11. Mom didn't tell us much about it." "He had some tests that showed abnormalities," Elon explained. "For a few weeks, they thought he might not have much time left. That's when he wrote me that letter." "What letter?" Elon reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper, different from the childhood drawing he'd shown yesterday. This was a letter, the paper yellowed with age, the creases worn from frequent unfolding. He wrote this when he thought. "He might die," Elon said, handing it to Kimbal. "He sent it to me in Canada. I've kept it ever since." Kimbal carefully unfolded the letter and began to read. It was written in their father's distinctive handwriting, a letter from a man who thought he was facing the end, writing to his oldest son. As Kimbal read, his eyes widened. "I never knew about this. He swore me to secrecy," Elon explained, and in the end, it turned out to be nothing. The follow-up tests were clear. He lived another 25 years. Kimbal handed the letter back, deeply moved by its contents. "So, that's why you did all this. Not because you're sick, but because of what Dad wrote." Elon nodded. "In the letter, he told me his biggest regret was not supporting the dreams of the people he loved. He was too focused on his own ambitions." He paused. "Sound familiar?" "He told you not to make the same mistake," Kimbal guessed. "He told me that if I ever found success, I should remember what matters most, keeping promises to the people who believe in you." Elon looked around at the farm. "I've had that letter for 25 years, and I've thought about it often. But somehow, I always thought there would be time later to fulfill that promise we made under the tree." "What changed?" Kimbal asked. "Dad died," Elon said simply. And I realized I was becoming him. Successful, but with regrets piling up. I didn't want to wait until it was too late to keep our promise. Kimbal was quiet for a moment, processing this revelation. So there's no health scare? You're not sick? Fit as a fiddle, Elon confirmed. Though with my sleep habits, probably not for long. Kimbal shook his head, a mix of emotions crossing his face. Relief, exasperation, and finally, understanding. Only you would fake a medical emergency to give your brother a multi-million-dollar farm. I didn't fake anything, Elon protested. I just repurposed an old document. For dramatic effect? For perspective, Elon corrected. I needed you to understand that this wasn't just another donation or business decision. This was about something that matters more than all of that. Something we promised each other when we were just kids with big dreams. In the distance, a car appeared at the farm's entrance. Elon's ride to the airport. Time to go, Elon said, straightening up from the tree. I'm still coming on Wednesday, Kimbal insisted, even if there's no appointment. There is an appointment, Elon assured him, just not a medical one. I've set up meetings with urban farming experts from around the country. I thought you might want to share your vision for the foundation with them. Kimbal laughed, shaking his head at his brother's elaborate planning. You never do anything halfway, do you? Not when it matters, Elon replied seriously. And this matters more than Mars. As they walked down the hill toward the waiting car, Kimbal had an idea. Before you go, I want to do one more thing. He led Elon to a small nursery area where seedlings were being prepared for planting. Selecting 2 oak saplings, he handed one to his brother. What's this for? Elon asked. I think we should plant these, Kimbal explained, side by side near the big oak, a symbol of our renewed promise. Together, they planted the small trees on the hillside, in the shadow of the ancient oak that had witnessed their commitment to each other. When these are fully grown, Kimbal said, as they patted soil around the saplings, they'll stand as a reminder of promises kept between brothers, long after we're gone. When these are fully grown, Elon replied with a smile, I'll be watching them from Mars. As they walked to the waiting car, arm in arm, both brothers knew that the true gift exchanged that weekend wasn't a farm or a foundation, but something far more valuable. A promise remembered, renewed, and finally fulfilled. That was the end of this heartwarming narrative about Elon and Kimbal Musk. I hope you enjoyed this tale of brotherly love, childhood promises, and the power of giving back. Where are you listening from today? I'd love to know which part of the world this content reached. If you enjoyed this video, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content like this. Your support means everything to us, and it helps us create more videos that spread positivity. Don't forget to share this video with your friends and family. In a world that sometimes feels divided, accounts of generosity and keeping promises can remind us all of our shared humanity and the importance of honoring our commitments to those we love. By sharing this video, you're helping spread kindness and awareness, something we need more of in today's world. Every share makes a difference. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you in the next video.